Thursday, June the 15th. Wow. It's my baby's birthday. A couple days. She'll baby. She'll be 25. Okay. So, excuse me. We're going to talk today about expressing some of the patterns that we've written down, the roles that we've played. And in order for us to change how we feel about ourselves, we know that there's inner work that needs to be done. There's a lot of different methodologies to do inner work, right? And what I really like about the exercises in this particular book is the opportunity to dive into the shadow self without staying and spending a lot of time in there and feeling bad. And for me, it had been really clearing. Funny story. My mentor uses the Hoffman process. I don't know if he's certified in it, and he has something called the Dark Day of the Soul week, and he goes through the whole thing. And just FYI, from the business perspective, people, he charges $35,000 for a week to go. I know, right? To go through the shadows, this stuff that I know. It's just, so you just never know where you might be called, right, to do and how to work with people. So we know that in order to change how we feel about ourselves, we need to express. Well, maybe we don't know that. Let me rephrase that. In order to change how we feel about ourselves, we need to express what's been stored inside of us. A lot of us have suppressed or repressed, some of the feelings that we experienced as children. And sometimes for our brain, right, is created for safety and security. And so it feels, even at a little level, that it won't be safe for us to express. But really what this will allow us to do is to reclaim our power and find our own voice. The body expresses what the mind represses. And there's some, great somatic trauma work that can be done as well. And so if you're wanting more information around some simple exercises, let me know, right? Like there's one that I do release stored trauma in my body every night. And it's just a simple lay on the floor, lay in the bed, put your legs in like a butterfly position. And you bring your knees, so you put like legs down. So I can do this without, so like my palms of my feet, soles of my feet are together. And like this would be my knees. And you bring it up like this. So my body doesn't bend that way, but basically you bring it up until your legs start to shake. And then you just allow the shaking. And then when you allow that shaking, you might feel like you need to move your body. You might want to, your whole body might shake. Like there's a whole bunch of really cool things that can happen with that. You're releasing stored trauma from your body. Another way I could do it is through cranial sacral massage. And it's not really a massage, but they move the spinal fluid in your body and the cerebral fluid around your brain. And so it helps with blockages. I did cranial sacral years ago, and I went to one 2 weeks ago, and I had forgotten how much I enjoy it, but I really move on the table. Like my whole body twitches and shakes, and my head shakes and stuff like that. So yeah, I love it. So, okay, back to the Hoffman process. So what is it though that we need to express? So it's not like in therapy when you go back into the actual situation and relive the situation. Really what we want to do is go back to the situation, be in awareness of it. So as an observer, like a director, and then rewrite the script. And so I kind of alluded to that yesterday with my story. And so here is an exercise that you can use to clear resentment. So we're going to start with resentment. So you simply want to write or say in quick succession lots of sentences beginning with I resent. So here's the example. I resent that my wife left this morning without saying goodbye. I resent that the traffic was so slow. I resent that Mike didn't turn up for the meeting. I resent being given so much work. I resent the weather. I resent weeds on my lawn. I resent that my team lost last weekend. I resent having to visit those distant relatives. I resent the credit card company demanding payment. I resent having to do this stupid exercise. And see if you can keep going to the point where it becomes absolutely ridiculous. You might even begin to laugh at your own powers of resentment. And this is a great way to get off your chest. So here's what happens. At a deeper level, we probably have much deeper resentments towards people whom we feel have harmed us in our lives. There's the boss who won't promote us or give us the pay raise we want. There's the lover who left us for somebody else. There's the school teacher, our parents, etc. As adults, most of us don't want to point the finger of blame at our parents. It's time we feel, though, to get on with our own lives. This is what happened with me. It's like, why blame my parents? Like, they did the best they could with what they had. I've said that since I was 15 years old. My mom and dad are doing the best that they can with what they have. And so that's easy to say when I'm here, but when I'm with my parents and I get triggered, then that little girl shows up, and the roles that I played as a child, they'll show up. The patterns will show up around my parents. And so if we go back to the root cause of the patterns, we can be in a position when we're not blaming our parents, but we can look outside of ourselves to maybe where some of the behaviors started. So we want to think back to the behavior patterns that you acknowledged for yourself, plus the ones, if you asked anybody, that your friends volunteered for you. And be honest, which ones might have you learned from your parents? So there's two pieces of opportunity that you have here. And so the first one is the I resent. Now I know that everyone is super busy. And so when I give the opportunity to do the work after, it may or may not happen because you're all really busy. And so I thought maybe what we would do today is just take 3 minutes. We're not going to take much time, maybe 4 minutes. And I just want all of you to start with the I resent exercise. Now, if you might not feel like you might not have any resentment at all, and that's cool. If you come up blank, right? If you come up blank, then just think, well, what if I was to resent anything, what would it be? Right? So I don't have any resentment, but if I was to resent anything or anyone, what would that be? And just sit and be okay. You may not have any resentments at all. And be okay if you do, and be okay if you don't. You don't have to force anything. This isn't a forceful exercise. This is just an opportunity for you to explore. If the word resentment doesn't resonate with you, maybe pick another word that that you feel, right, that resonates with you. You can't do this exercise wrong. This is just the opportunity for you to let go of any niggling, lower energy, so that you can see. So when we do this exercise first, it starts to release. So it's a vibration. It starts to release the stored energy, so that we can go into the next exercise of going, where do these patterns come from, right? Like my dad's the rescuer, as an example. So my mom's the good one. My mom's the goody goody, right? So it will allow you the next exercise. All right, so it's 11 minutes after 8. I'm gonna check in with everybody in 3 minutes. So the exercise is the one that says I resent, and just let yourself go and be silly, right? I resent that I stubbed my toe yesterday. Right? Like this morning when I was doing the exercising, I was like, I resent that my knees hurt. Fuck, I'm totally pissed off that my knees hurt. I want to go exercise and I'm in pain, right? So it can be just something like that. It doesn't have to be a person, it can be a situation or anything. All right, I'll be quiet. Now it's 8:12, sorry. So I'll check in at 8:15 and go. All right. Come back to me, folks. Thank you. So once we've done that, the next piece of the exercise is tracing the patterns that control us. So the patterns that I'm referring to is what I sent to you via photograph. And it's the money patterns, the love patterns, the sex patterns, the work patterns, like those patterns. And so what I would like you to do is take a look at the patterns and that you have. So not the ones you don't have, but just the ones that you have. And make note, however that works for you. Can you see that pattern in your mom or dad? Because some of the patterns will, I'll say, inherit, like it's passed down through the lineage. So some of those your parents will have. If you were raised by someone along with your mom and dad, like if you're raised by another friend or a nanny, grandparents, like if they were around a lot and had spent time with raising with you, then look at that as well. So the people that influenced you the most, take a look to seeing which patterns they have. And I'm just going to pause for like a minute. It shouldn't take you much longer than a minute to take a look at that. Okay. Now, here is part of the exercise that I'd like you to take on in the next 24 hours. The next step. This one takes a bit longer. And for me, just sharing, of course, my story, I think I did this over like a 5 or 6 day period, right? So once a day, I would take a pattern and do this following exercise. So once you know that the pattern was displayed in, a parent or grandparent, I want you to take a look at that pattern and make the link really clear. So I'm going to read the exercise as described by the author. So to make the link more clear, remember the situation from your childhood where you might have learned that pattern. It doesn't have to be the first time that you saw the pattern or learned it, but one of your memories of this pattern. See it as if it's happening at the present moment. Now, when you're doing this, you're the observer, right? You're the adult Ranchelle observing the child Randy with dad, as an example. So you want to engage emotionally, but not be in the story. So this way your emotions and intellect become engaged by staying as a director, right? Your intellect is also engaged. So what is your parents, like what is your mother or father saying or doing? So an example that he has here is, take, for example, the pattern critical. Your father's doing your homework with you and he says, look, you've done it wrong again. Trust you to mess it up, right? How did you feel at the time? Make an emotional connection with that scene. Then think of a time when you have been critical recently. So you're going into the past, right? Where that's been displayed by your parent. And then you bring it into, when has this happened to me? My most recent past. And it could, of course, been directed towards you or to someone you're close to. And again, you're the director. So it'd be like the adult Ranchelle looking at the adult Ranchelle. And so you want to make that connection. Stay in a moment of the emotional connection. You don't have to stay there long, but it's important that you stay there, because here's what you want to do. You want to write a letter, imagining that you were that small child, right? Again, telling your in this case, the father, you don't want to take on his patterns. Let him know that it's his stuff and not yours. So you write the letter, sharing, expressing to your parent, however you want to, right? I see that you had this pattern. You pass this pattern on to me. I'm giving this pattern back to you. I don't want this pattern anymore. You can take it, do whatever you need to do with it. Like, it's like I'm swiping left, right? I don't want this. As you're writing the letter, you'll feel the emotional charge has lessened, or actually even fully disappeared. And so when you're doing that, take the paper and you crumple it up, and you can, or you can burn it. Now, for those of you who have not done this exercise before, or an exercise like this before, it is, although it sounds very simple, it's very releasing, right? You're giving back the pattern to the person to where it belongs. It's not your pattern. You inherited the pattern. By the crumpling of it or the burning of it, it's an actual ceremony. It's a releasing of the energy of the pattern that you've been holding on to. If you notice that the same pattern comes up through a journaling exercise in your present moment, you can do this, I guess, do this exercise as often as you need to, as you're releasing the pattern. Right? And maybe you won't have the same experience that I had. My manipulation pattern was so ingrained because both my parents, I'm saying not because, but I think it is actually because both my parents are extremely manipulative. And they don't even know it. It's so insidious that if I ever had that conversation with my parents, they would both deny it because they can't see it. So the manipulation one took me a while to figure it out because it was so insidious within me as well. And so they have this exercise. So whether you have a burning exercise, you can bury it. That's something else you can do. You can crumple it up. But I promise you, it's a huge opportunity for you to release it. So once you've done that, the act of writing a letter detailing where you feel you've been wronged won't actually increase your anger. It allows expression so that it can move out of you, right? After you're writing it, check in to see if you feel that it's time to move on. And then if not, you can do the exercise again, or you can wait until like the next day, right? So it is an absolutely simple and fantastic way for us to release that. So I'm going to stop because we're already at 8:23. So stop now, and perhaps maybe even you might want to do some of that before you move on with your day. If you need assistance through this or you have questions, you can ask questions now if you want to, but if you need assistance moving through this, please note, just message me. I'm teaching today, and I will definitely make time to connect with you. It might be, after 5 today, but certainly, don't feel like you need to go through this, and don't be afraid. You'll feel an expression, but it's when you're the director of it, it feels different. And that's why I said, don't imagine it as if you're looking like, as if I don't want to be the 6-year-old where I expressed the story yesterday. I wasn't the 6-year-old. I was the adult observing the 6-year-old interacting with her father. So that way the emotion was still there, but but it wasn't, I wasn't re-traumatizing myself through the experience. Does that make sense? Sorry, you're the only one in camera. Does that make sense to you at least? Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Good. Good. Sherry said in her comments, right? Yeah, the parents, thanks, Diane. The parents did the best they could. Then someone asked you, that might be true, but have you ever sat with the acknowledgement, the devastation of the experience? And I was like, boom, yeah, that's landed. Exactly, right? That is so true, right? I can totally relate to that. So beautiful. All right. I'm gonna pause.